Welcome back, War Room fans. Hey, I was going to talk to you guys about this A3 C-Zone. Me and my friends at our game group were talking about it, okay? A3 seems to be the SZ91 of War Room, okay? And what I mean by that is that on the opening turn, I just set up the allied units that are in the vicinity of A3, okay? So we got our guys over here. I'm not worried about Germany in this. I'm just showing the kind of the allied opening move, okay? Now let's say the allies go, we're doing a kill Germany first strategy, okay? We're gonna rely on US naval power over here in Japan with the Anzac forces to try to at least stave off Japan. We'll talk about that later, okay? But the United States, in theory, with UK, in one turn, on their opening turn, they can move all of these command stacks into Eastern Canada, okay? So they can have 5 command stacks. The Canadians will form up into 1. The US will form up into an 8 stack. I put all 3 command stacks. I didn't put the actual units, but this is an 8 command and this is a 4 command, okay? The 11th can come off into A2 and they can be here in A6 on the opening turn. So right off the bat, the United States will have 2 strat bombers and 3 fighters over here in Great Britain, okay? The 13th can come over here into Eastern Canada to cover the initial move. So on turn 2, the Allies can come over. The 13th is providing air cover, okay? Let's just say the 50th comes up here too. You're gonna make a heavy push into this region, okay? They have enough fighters over here, which I would recommend for the United States to actually split their air command. Now, I'm sitting over here and I'm looking at the US air commands, okay? I just thought about this while doing the video. So they have 1 over in the Pacific, they have 2 over in the Pacific. They only have 2 spare air commands that aren't on the board, okay? So the problem the United States runs into is if you don't split these and make 1 a strat or a bomber command and 1, you ideally want to split them so 1's just bombers, 1's just fighters. It gives you more versatility on what the United States can do, okay? You technically, in the ideal scenario, you don't want the bombers tied with the fighters. You want them kind of individual. You want a bomber stack and a fighter stack, okay? But you only have 2 spare air commands. So you got 2 here, and you got, well, technically you have 3. I forgot about this guy. So you got 3 in Europe, you got 2 in the Pacific, and then you have these guys here. So, you know, if you split them, you got 1 more in Europe and 1 more in the Pacific. You only got 3 air commands in the Pacific, okay? That's going to pose problems down the line, depending on how you're using your air power, okay? Now, I didn't put up the naval power because the thing about the naval power is there's a big question mark on it, but you can always defend A3. It's a question mark on how the disposition is, how the Allies are moving it, how the Germans are moving their subs. Does Germany actually like try to build a navy like on the opening turn? They like, let's say they build a battleship. They build a battleship and with all their subs, you know, depending, let's say Germany takes out that fleet in A6, all of a sudden Germany, you know, they're gonna, you know, unless America and UK start building some naval power, Germany's gonna start inching towards taking over the seas, which affects A3, okay? But this is a safe move because in the early part of the game, you can use all this air power to defend all this land power. And there's no way Germany is taking out this air power. It's not gonna happen. You could even use one of the Russian commands and bring their Russian fleet. It's not big, but it at least gives you some extra cover, okay? So on turn 3, you can go into here, one of these 3, or on turn 4, you can go here, threaten here, or turn 4, you can come down to A15 and threaten down here, okay? Now, once again, as I talked about in my previous video, it's a 1-turn delay. So if you don't commit out of A3 into Scandinavia up here, these guys aren't going until turn 5, okay? So the Scandinavia gambit, though, the thing about it is Germany doesn't want to lose it, but it's not catastrophic. They take 4 stress and 3 iron. So losing the iron is going to hurt, but it's not like Germany's crying and ready to wet the bed here, you know. So Germany, all they need to do is make the Allies actually have to fight for these places. Even if they're just contested for 1 turn, it's 1 turn that they're sitting here. They've lost some units, okay? If, let's say, the Americans are in Norway and go, man, we can't be in Norway. This is a bad move. Well, turn 3 was here. They fight turn 4. Turn 5, you go, we got to bug out. So turn 5, they come down here. Turn 6, they can come down in here. Or turn 6, they come up into here, okay? So you've just delayed them, okay? Now remember, because of the 1-turn delay, reinforcements out of America, and if Canada built any, they appear and can move on turn 3. So it's turn 4 they come across, turn 5 they can reinforce, okay? So this C zone here can go all the way down to here. They could come up into here, reinforce directly, or spend an extra turn on turn 5, they could be up into here, right north of Moscow. So it's a nice central location for the Allies to collect in, okay? Because it has fighter cover from Great Britain. It has fighter cover from Iceland if you landed on it. Same thing with Greenland, okay? Allied planes can be on any of these territories to support this area, okay? It's almost like you want Germany to overreact. You want to go force against force. You want them to start sending the planes in because the Americans can get over there real quick, okay? So it becomes a war of attrition then. If the Germans want to fight this with air power, the Allies are going to win this, okay? Even if it takes 2 turns, maybe 3 turns. You know, heck, you might just sit there and on turn 3, you don't even move. You just sit there, go keep bringing your aircraft, trying to kill these guys while the Americans are coming over in reinforcements. Britain might have some air reinforcements, and you keep fighting this dogfight over A3, okay? Especially if you can contain the German fleet, where if the German fleet is just basically sitting there because your German player is so focused on Russia, he's not even using his naval commands, he's basically just letting them get killed, then that makes this even more powerful, okay? So this is another puzzle that we have to come up to grips with in War Room, this A3 C zone, okay? It's gonna be a focal point for the Allies, and so the focal point is, what do we do when we're in A3? Do we go ahead and go into Scandinavia, maybe try to tip the balance, or do we start outflanking them? But by being up here, remember the 1-turn delay is if the Italy player or the German player aren't watching it, you can jump down here, and before they realize it, you're a turn ahead of them now because they spent a turn flat-footed, and so then you can come into here. You could even come into here from A15. You know, if they're really flat-footed and they're not watching this Italy thing, it's 1 turn here, 1 turn here, and 3 turns later, you're going into Italy. It might sound like that's a long time, but in War Room, if your opponent isn't looking a turn or 2 ahead, that could be a catastrophic mistake on Italy's part, that you have too much power and they weren't watching it. Because you can move in War Room, that's a rapid 2 turns there attack. That's a rapid across sea attack in War Room. But they have to be, if they're not watching, you can catch them with their pants down. Same thing over here. You jump into A6, Germany's not watching right here. And once again, you can come in wherever they're weak because they weren't watching it, because it's going to take a one-turn delay for them to get the guys back in. Because remember, they can't build reinforcements here until after you've invaded, okay? Denmark is an interesting little country here because they don't have a factory. You think it's just poor little Denmark, but Denmark can invade Greater Germany just as well as France can. In every other World War II game, Denmark's not a good territory to go into because in order to get to Germany, it's only like 2 squares on a normal map. Germany can have like 6 units down here in a traditional World War II game, and you can never break through. War Room's not like that. You land units in Denmark, they can attack. You land units here, they can attack. There's no, the border is just the border for the map. You can come in. So if Denmark's weak, you land on Denmark and you're right next to Greater Germany. If France is weak, great. They gave you some factories and a lot of stress you gave them, okay? But Denmark is a very valuable turn 5 if they're, they're concerned about this and they're moving around. You pop down here, turn 5, you're in Denmark. This is a very powerful sea zone, okay? So we need to start talking about plans, not only for the Allies, what kind of plans can we conjure up here in A3 to really put Germany in a bind and Italy in a bind? And if we're the Axis player, what plans can we come up to mitigate this? We can't stop it per se, but can we come up with a plan where we neuter it or actually get the Allies off that sea zone where they don't want to have to fight for that sea zone? They would rather come off of here and come down to I7 or A7, okay? You got to get them off this point, okay? That's the focus of Germany and to a lesser extent Italy, however they can affect that. But this is a big sea zone. We need to start thinking of ideas, okay? Our game group's been thinking of different things. I'll hit the forums on this, and we need to have a discussion about this because I think on the European theater, this is the #1 puzzle that needs to be unraveled. We need to figure this out and come up with some good plans. Okay, guys? I'll talk to you later. Bye.